Hello friends, welcome to Asan IAS. Friends, if you can believe, you may start. But if you can understand, you will achieve. I am continuing with the 10 commandments for IAS aspirants. We have already discussed two commandments. The first one was what to study, second one was how to study. ये तो बोलना बहुत इजी है व्हाट टू स्टडी यू नीड नॉट स्टडी एनसीईआरटी और स्टैंडर्ड बुक्स you need not read newspaper or magazine. You just need to recognize what exactly you require to crack this exam and you need to understand those concepts. मैं तो बोल दिया बहुत सिंपल. लेकिन how do you recognize? जब मैं आपकी तरफ से सोचूंगा तो definitely there is a challenge. I completely understand. So let me help you. That's why I am coming up with the third commandment. Understand the four pillars of IAS preparation. पहले हम प्रीलिम्स का पिलर्स की बात करेंगे. इन अनदर कमेंडमेंट आई आल्सो टॉक अबाउट द पिलर्स फॉर मेंस. व्हाट आर दीज फोर पिलर्स? फर्स्ट पिलर इज बेसिक्स. डोंट वरी, आई विल एक्सप्लेन वन बाय वन. सेकंड पिलर करंट इवेंट्स. थर्ड पिलर मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट वन प्रीवियस क्वेश्चंस. एंड फोर्थ पिलर कॉमन सेंस. If you can understand these four things, you can clear this exam just like that. Very simple. Now let us talk about these four one by one. First, I would like to talk about the second pillar, that is the current events, because it is the most misguided pillar, and in fact for most of the aspirants it is a nightmare. Almost every aspirant is spending major amount of his preparation time in reading editorials in newspaper. देश में किसी के पास इतना टाइम नहीं है 2-3 घंटा न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने में हर दिन लगाए. इवन रिटायर होकर घर पे रिलैक्स होने वाले भी इतना टाइम नहीं लगा रहा है. ही हैज हिज ओन वर्क्स टू डू. बट आईएएस एस्पिरेंट के पास टाइम ही टाइम है. 3 से 4 घंटा भी न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने में, मैगजीन पढ़ने में वे लगा सकते हैं. आई नेवर अंडरस्टैंड. क्योंकि सब बोलते हैं टॉपर्स फैकल्टी विदाउट रीडिंग करंट अफेयर्स यू कैन नॉट क्लियर दिस एग्जाम. Yes, they are right. Without knowing various issues, developments and other initiatives taken across the world in recent times, how will you face this exam? But is it the only way? Reading newspaper and magazines is the only way to gather all that information? You need to understand, you need to rethink. Before explaining how you can build this pillar, I would like to tell you a story. In fact, it is not a story, it is a fact. You know the first battle of Panipat, which was fought between the Babur forces and Ibrahim Lodi forces? In this battle, Babur defeated Lodi and that was the end of Delhi Sultanate and Mughal Empire had started. I am talking about 1526. This was one of the earliest battles in the Indian subcontinent which used gunpowder. Babur, Mughals, they used gunpowder in this battle. In reality, लोडी आर्मी फार आउटनंबर्ड बाबर्स आर्मी. लोडी का आर्मी बहुत बड़ा था कंपेयर टू बाबर्स. स्टिल बाबर वन दिस बैटल नॉट बिकॉज बाबर हैज यूज्ड गन पाउडर. In fact, many cannons used by them, they did not work properly because by that time they were not experts of using that. But the sound which came from the use of these cannons has frightened Ibrahim Lodi's elephants and they trample his own men. तो वे डर से जो आर्मी उसके ऊपर बैठा उसको गिराया और उसको क्रश कर दिया. Hope you are understanding what I am trying to say. This is one of the reasons, for the failure or for the defeat of Ibrahim Lodi. But why am I telling all this to you? Because this is exactly what is happening in your case. You are your own worst enemy. सबका आवाज सुन के, टॉपर्स का, फैकल्टी का, न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ो. शुरुआत में ही विदाउट इवन अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट इज दिस एग्जाम, विदाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट द पेपर सेटर इज एक्सपेक्टिंग फ्रॉम यू, विदाउट नोइंग हाउ सिंपल दिस एग्जाम इज, विदाउट नोइंग व्हाट आर द कंसेप्ट्स दैट यू नीड टू लर्न, सिंपली स्टार्ट विथ एनसीईआरटीज एंड स्टार्ट रीडिंग न्यूज़पेपर. न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ो, मैगजीन्स पढ़ो, वेरियस न्यूज रिलेटेड एनालिसिस चैनल्स देखो, और यू editorials पढ़ो. करंट अफेयर्स, करंट अफेयर्स, करंट अफेयर्स, 70% ऑफ द पेपर इज करंट अफेयर्स. ये सब सुन के इस आवाज की वजह से यू आर वेस्टिंग योर वैल्यूबल टाइम इन दो थिंग्स इंस्टेड ऑफ properly organizing your preparation, instead of understanding what concepts you require, instead of structuring that syllabus, instead of getting clarity on the basics, you are just spending all your time in something which add no value to your preparation. Let me explain this. I would like to show you a question asked in Civil Services 2020. Don't think I am showing only one or two questions which मैं सर्च करके लेके आ रहा हूं. सारे क्वेश्चंस हम यही करेंगे, ऐसा ही करेंगे. You take this question. In India, why are some nuclear reactors kept under IAEA safeguards while others are not? सब बोलता है IAEA was in news, that's why this question was asked. So current affairs पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी है. अरे IAEA was in news in 2020, it was in news in 2019, it was in news in 2018, 2017, 2016 and so on. And it will be in news in 2021, it will be in news in 2022, 23, 24, 25, no doubt in that. But what it is to do, whether it is in news or not, irrespective of whether it is in news or not, you must understand what is IAEA. Not only IAEA, all international treaties related to nuclear technology, you should know as part of your basic preparation. IAEA क्या है, NPT क्या है, NSG क्या है, MTCR क्या है, CTBT क्या है, PTBT क्या है, START क्या है, all the things you must know. Don't confuse like, how to know all these things, how to remember. You need not go in depth. You just need to know these are all treaties related to nuclear technology. And what they do, very basic idea. Suppose IAEA क्या काम है? The idea of this is to promote peaceful use of nuclear energy. अगर आप nuclear sources को import करते हो, like uranium or any nuclear technology, it makes sure that will be used for peaceful purposes. Maybe for in nuclear reactors you can use for generation of electricity, but you cannot divert that to military and you can develop nuclear weapons. उसको safeguard करना इसका responsibility है. Very basics. If you spend some time in understanding all these things, you can answer any question that comes. Instead of spending your valuable time on that will actually give you answers to these questions. You are just reading the articles which come on IAEA. Though you have read the news article that is published on IAEA, you may not be able to answer this question. You must have studied some news related to IAEA. How do you answer this question? You better understand. Let me go through the options. See option A. Some use uranium and others use thorium. थोरियम यूज करने वाली न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर कहां पे है? इंडिया में नहीं, वर्ल्ड में भी कहीं नहीं है. इनफैक्ट इंडिया इज ट्राइंग टू डेवलप दिस बिकॉज वी हैव गुड रिजर्व्स ऑफ थोरियम. So by 2050, this is our plan. That is what you study in our 3-stage nuclear program. Very basic concept. हम 2050 तक थोरियम बेस्ड न्यूक्लियर रिएक्टर बनाने का कोशिश कर रहा है. We just have prototype. We still have to make, but he is saying some nuclear reactors use uranium, some use thorium. That's why some are kept under IAEA safeguard, some are not. Bilkul nonsense. If you know the basics, whether you have studied, whether you have read this news article or not, irrespective of that, you simply हंसते हंसते आंसर करोगे. आपको बिल्कुल बकवास लगेगा ऑप्शन ये. Instead of developing this ability, you are wasting your time in reading all these news. So many news might have been published on IAEA over a period of time. ये सब पढ़ने के बाद भी if your basics are not clear, you cannot answer this question. Look at B. Some use imported uranium and others use domestic supplies. Yes, if you import uranium, obviously it comes under IAEA safeguards and it monitor whether you are using it for the right cause or not. Agar if you use your own domestic supply, why you invite IAEA? You won't entertain it. आपका मर्जी, आप कहां यूज करना है यूज करो, आपका सप्लाई आपका हाथ. Making sense? Even look at option C. Some are operated by foreign enterprises and others are operated by domestic enterprises. How nonsense and bakwas statement it is. All nuclear reactors in our country comes under DIE, Department of Atomic Energy. You see, these are all very basics. Don't say that how do we come to know all these things. If you would have gone through the preparation, इतना तो आपको समझना चाहिए. That's why your time should be spent on understanding the basics like that in each and every concept. See, we might have purchased some reactors from other countries, but operation, will be taken care by NPCIL, which is administered by Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. Very simple. These are very basic things we have well discussed. इतना basics तो हम कैसे बोल सकते हैं? So he's saying some are operated by foreign enterprises and others are operated by domestic enterprises. बिल्कुल nonsense. D देखे, some are state owned and others are privately owned. Where are privately owned nuclear reactors in our country? सारे तो under DI ही है, government owned only. So this is also wrong. So if you know the concepts properly, it's not current affairs. You answer these questions very easily, even with so confidence, because you know why A is wrong, why C is wrong, why D is wrong. Explain करने में इतना time लग रहा है. Otherwise, you can do it within few seconds. Instead of doing that without understanding properly what is IAEA, without understanding our nuclear program, just by reading 5-6 news articles which were published on IAEA, you cannot answer this kind of questions. That is the problem. Even itna current events padne ke bawjood, many people are not even scoring 50%. That's why the cutoff is even below 50%. Otherwise, answering 80% of questions is so simple. It is possible, very easily possible, without any effort. Hope you understand. B is the answer. Anyway, I am not trying to explain you the concept here. I am trying to make you understand where you should focus, where you have to invest your time. Take another question asked in Civil Services 2020. With reference to solar water pumps, consider the following statements. Don't say solar water pumps was in use. Solar water pumps, solar energy was in use and will be in use for next 2-3 decades. उसमें कोई doubt है. Nothing to do with that. See, solar power can be used for running surface pumps and not for submergible pumps. Even अगर आपने 10 to 15 news articles पढ़ा हो solar water pumps के बारे में, तब भी ये question answer नहीं कर पाएंगे. Just based on the editorial reading or news reading, you cannot answer the questions. You need to have clarity on it. न्यूज़पेपर जो हुआ या जो हो रहा है उसकी बात करेगा. आपने पॉलिसी मेकर बनने वाले हो का मतलब your thoughts should be different. You should deeply understand what has happened, not just yesterday or last year, even much before. For decades, what is going on, you need to understand, and accordingly, you should develop your knowledge. Then you better answer, and it gives, the paper looks easy to you. Second statement, solar power can be used for running centrifugal pumps and not the ones with piston. That means he is saying solar power कुछ जगह पे यूज कर सकते हैं, कहीं कहीं यूज नहीं कर पाएंगे. See, whether it is solar power or thermal power, what is the difference? There is no difference. Wherever you can use thermal power, you can also use solar power. The only problem with solar power is its high initial cost, expensive to establish, and it needs large installation area. That is the challenge, financial challenge. That's why we need investments. Otherwise, wherever you can use thermal power, you can use solar power also. That it doesn't mean that it cannot be used somewhere. Even there are two varieties. एक में DC produce होगा, उसको भी AC में बदल सकते हैं. Hope you know all these basics. So energy topic, MNRE में we have discussed all these basic things. So बिल्कुल nonsense statements. He is very clearly stating solar power cannot be used somewhere. Wherever you want to use, you can use it. Hope you understand what I am trying to say. Both are wrong. You see, these questions cannot be answered with the knowledge of reading something. These can be answered with clear understanding of the concepts and with little common sense, which, you have to invest your time in developing this instead of reading. Let me take an example to explain how you can build this pillar. Suppose I have around 150 trees in my garden. I will never allow you inside my garden. What I do, every day all the leaves that fall down, I will collect and I will put it in display. हर दिन कुछ पत्ते गिरेंगे, मैं उसको लेके आपको दिखाऊंगा, लेकिन मैं आपको गार्डन के अंदर नहीं अलाउ करूंगा। एंड व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, यू आर कमिंग रेगुलरली, हर दिन आप आ रहा है टू स्टडी दीज लीव्स, मीन्स यू आर पुटिंग जेन्युइन एफर्ट्स। आप सिंसियरली आके हर दिन इस पत्ते के बारे में पढ़ के जा रहा है। यू आर पुटिंग लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट्स, लॉट ऑफ टाइम यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग, एंड इससे आपको बहुत वास्ट भी लगेगा। These leaves are like the news articles that you find each day in newspaper. So आप बहुत टाइम लगा के all the news articles आप पढ़ रहा है, लेकिन एग्जाम में सिर्फ 30% क्वेश्चंस आ रहा है अबाउट these leaves. 70% of the questions are going to be on trees, which you can never answer because you have never seen these trees. आपने गार्डन में अभी तक गया ही नहीं कभी। The same way, instead of studying the news articles, if you can understand the entire theme, for example, you talk about political conflicts across the world, Israel Palestine का क्या इश्यू है, Persian Gulf crisis क्या है, अजरबैजान आर्ट्सा का क्या इश्यू है, कुर्दिश पीपल का क्या प्रॉब्लम है, रोहिंग्या पीपल का क्या प्रॉब्लम है, इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड इन ए प्रॉपर वे, इट इज मच इजियर टू रिटेन। एंड यू नो ऐसा नहीं उनको हर दिन नया प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है, सेम प्रॉब्लम सालों से, इनफैक्ट डेकेड्स से चल रहा है। यू जस्ट नीड टू स्ट्रक्चर एंड अंडरस्टैंड देम इन वन गो। इफ यू कैन डू दैट, you never find these leaves something new, which are part of the same trees. Similarly, after understanding these, if you read any newspaper or any article, you don't find anything new out of it. Then you can answer the 30% as well as the 70% of questions also. And आपका बहुत टाइम बच जाएगा and आपका वास्ट लगेगा भी नहीं. This is what you have to do first of all if you want to build this pillar. It's not, but everyone is telling you, like NCERT से शुरू करो, daily newspaper follow करना शुरू करो. Without understanding, anything else, आपने शुरू कर दिया, कब तक खत्म होगा? कभी खत्म नहीं होगा, बिकॉज ये पेपर ऐसा नहीं, एक साल में सारे समझा के पेपर बंद करेंगे, ऐसा तो होगा नहीं, पेपर तो आता ही रहेगा, 10 साल भी पढ़ते रहो, ये तो भर के आएगा, सारे पेजेस भर के। Hope you understand what I am telling you. So this is about the second pillar, the current events. Hope you have understood this. Don't ask me, sir, tell me the list of those 150 concepts so that we can prepare. It is not possible to tell. You have to realize. Suppose I give you the list of 150. Suppose one of them is understand all the treaties related to nuclear technology. Again you get a question, sir, what are those treaties tell? Suppose I tell you that also. Again you have a question. Suppose I say IAA. Then you ask me what is IAA? Tell me in simple one line. So if we do all this, that is the entire course. So it's not that you have to prepare this current events pillar separately. All the 4 pillars are together. First you need this framework, which I tried to give you with the help of division of syllabus. At least to an extent I helped you in doing that. Then in each pillar you need to understand what is the basic of it, what is happening in those things. Then even you see last few years में क्या questions उस पे पूछा है. Suppose you talk about all international treaties related to nuclear technology. So each treaty understand broadly what is it. Then out of them which are more trending nowadays. Then understand what were previous questions asked on that. There could be 8 to 10 questions already asked in past years. With the help of those questions, you can understand how broadly the questions are coming, and you better can build that block. Then even by doing all these things, your common sense automatically develop. So all these 4 pillars are interrelated that way. That's why first let me talk about the other 3 pillars also, maybe you better understand this. So after current events, now we talk about the third pillar, that is the previous questions. See, first pillar, that is basics, I will explain at the end. This is the most important pillar out of the 4. We have basics, current events, previous questions, common sense. If this pillar does not exist, even the other 3 pillars are very strong, still the structure cannot survive. The building collapses. because this is the major pillar which you cannot ignore. It is like guiding light in the entire preparation process. It play its own role as well as it helps in others also. For example, it is like a team leader. ये खुद का भी काम करेगा. Around 25 to 30% of questions, बहुत प्रीलिम्स एंड मेंस की बात कर रहा हूं, इनमें इसका इस पिलर का डायरेक्ट मदद आप देखोगे. डायरेक्टली कॉपी पेस्ट रिपीटेड क्वेश्चंस होगा विथ लिटिल चेंजेस होगा. सो उन क्वेश्चंस में इसका इंपैक्ट डायरेक्टली दिखेगा आपको, इनका बेनिफिट डायरेक्टली दिखेगा. In other pillars also, like when you study basics, in what sense you have to understand, how you have to order them, ये सारे identify करने में भी इसका रोल है. Similarly, how can I say confidently you need not read newspaper? I'm not saying you need not learn current events. I'm only saying reading newspaper or following another source is not the way to gather current affairs. While writing means certain times you have to give recent data and you should justify your answers. So हम खुद सर्च करेंगे because you come to know by that time what all data you require. So recent reports हम खुद ढूंढेंगे because the names of those reports and according to module wise you come to know automatically. That's why there is no importance of the newspaper and all. But current events are required. But we will search and we will find and we will fill those according to in our structured preparation. That's what I mean to say. How I can say that confidently? Because of the previous questions only. Similarly, when you understand, when you look at thousands of previous questions, you automatically develop your common sense by solving them, by understanding them, by analyzing them. So, सारे pillars में, this is the most important pillar. In fact, you have to spend more than 50% of your preparation time on this pillar. This is the most important, the first rank I will give to this pillar. Followed by basics. Your basics, very basics, I will talk about those. You must have 100% clarity on those basics. Then third, common sense automatically aa jayega when you do this. Then finally the last important pillar is current events. But what you are doing, you are spending more than half of your preparation time on current affairs. जो सबसे बकवास pillar है, उस पे आप सबसे importance आप उसको दे रहे हैं. That is the problem. बेसिक्स को अच्छी तरह से क्लैरिटी से एक ऑर्गेनाइज्ड वे में तैयारी नहीं कर पा रहे आप. प्रीवियस क्वेश्चंस को इतना इंपॉर्टेंट पिलर को कंप्लीटली इग्नोर कर रहे हो. दैट्स व्हाई दिस एग्जाम इज ऑलवेज अनप्रेडिक्टेबल टू दीज एस्पिरेंट्स. अदरवाइज व्हाट इज अनप्रेडिक्टेबिलिटी इन दिस एग्जाम? 2020 एग्जाम देने के बाद सब बोला, मैं प्रीलिम्स की बात कर रहा हूं, इस साल पेपर डिफरेंट है, डिफिकल्ट है. 2019 एग्जाम देने के बाद भी उस एस्पिरेंट्स वही बोला था. ऐसा होगा तो 2018 में भी वही बोला, 2017 में भी यही बोला. एवरी ईयर आफ्टर राइटिंग देयर एग्जाम एस्पिरेंट्स कम आउट एंड से दिस ईयर पेपर इज डिफरेंट एंड डिफिकल्ट. हाउ इट कैन बी डिफिकल्ट एवरी ईयर? इफ इट इज सो, व्हाट आर यू डूइंग इन योर प्रिपरेशन? इट इज नॉट डिफरेंट और डिफिकल्ट. It is only you who fail to understand what you require to understand. First, I would like to show you some questions so that we can understand how this pillar can directly useful to you in the exam. A question asked in Civil Services 2020. A constitutional government by definition is a. You must be very good at polity. You know what is parliamentary form of government, what is constitutional government, you understand what is democracy, all these things. But the problem is not that you do not know, but sometimes options may be very close and out of the time pressure, maybe you may be very short in time. So there is a chance that you may go, by mistake you may choose wrong option because of while understanding, because the terminology may be new to you. He may use different words, different language he can use to express the answer. Anyway, I am not answering this. I will show you this question again in a while. Let me take more questions. The answer here is limited government. Constitutional government means ultimate authority is constitution. The state cannot have arbitrary powers. It cannot, make any law. It cannot take away your fundamental rights or liberty. Constitution will safeguard that. That's what it put restriction on the government, the constitution. That is what we call constitutional government, or you can say liberal democracy. means limited government. Now you look at this question asked in Civil Services 2014. Consider the following statements. A constitutional government is one which. So the same question constitutional government. अगर आपने previous question solve कर चुका होगा, when you see the same thing again in 2020 paper, आप बहुत confident and आप आराम से answer करोगे. and गलत करने का chance ही नहीं रहेगा. Statement 1 places effective restrictions on individual liberty in the interest of state authority. See, in fact, it helps individual to have liberty. It won't put restrictions on individual liberty in the interest of state authority. State make laws to take away your liberty sometimes. Then constitution will, help you to get back your liberty. Hope you are understanding what I am trying to say. So first is wrong. Second, देखिए, it places effective restrictions on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. That is what we call constitutional government. That means to safeguard your fundamental rights or your liberty so that the state cannot take away those things. So constitution is safeguarding that. It put restrictions on state, on government. That is what is constitutional government is. Second is correct. So it means nothing but limited government. Same thing. Hope you understand what I am saying. Let me show you more questions. Take this question asked in CAP of 2014. Consider the following statements about constitutional government. Again, same question. First statement, it is a form of limited government. You see, limited government, same language. Now, this, if you would have solved this question, answering this Civil Services 2020 question would have been such a cakewalk. देख के ही आंसर कर सकते हैं आप 10 सेकंड के अंदर confidently. So it is a form of limited government. Yes, it put restriction on state authority so that it cannot take away your liberty, individual liberty. It is one where constitution is the basis of public authority. Yes, constitution is the basis of public authority. State won't have arbitrary power. Constitution से ही derive करना पड़ेगा power. So if it make any law which is non-constitutional, Supreme Court is there. So to judicial review ke through, it can be made, the act can be made null and void. 3. One where monarch is the formal head of the state. Suppose in our case, we don't have monarchy, ours is constitutional government. So this is not necessary. Constitutional monarchy bhi ho sakta hai. That has nothing to do with constitutional government. Hope you understand. In our case, we have elected president. Hope you are understanding. Fourth, देखिए, one where there is always universal adult franchise. See, this is what we call democracy. But it has nothing to do with constitutional government. Constitutional government means the source of power is the constitution. It safeguards the public, individual liberty or fundamental rights from the state. So, 1 is correct, 2 is correct. Hope you are understanding. If you would have solved this question, answering this 2020 question would have been so easy. Take one more question asked in CAP of 2019. Which of the following are the defining features of liberal democracy? Same thing. See, that means there will be rule of law. The state will not have arbitrary power, infinite power. First statement, the constitutional government based on formal, usually legal rules. Yes, constitutional government, the state or the government has to derive its power from the constitution. Second statement, guarantees of civil liberties and individual rights. Hope you are understanding. It guarantees, our constitution guarantee your rights. State cannot take away your rights. So second is also correct. Third, it invests political authority with potentially unlimited power. You see this? In fact, it is talking opposite. It asks for limited power, like it restricts the state to have unlimited power. Hope you understand this. So third is wrong. Even if you just know that this third is wrong, you can eliminate option A, option C and option D. It's just checking this. That means liberal democracy or constitutional government means limited power. Hope you understand. That's the benefit of solving previous questions. Anyway, I am not teaching you the concept here. I am trying to explain you the importance of solving the previous questions. If you would have understood these terms before, like what is liberal democracy, what is constitutional government, etc., then when you see these terms again, for the first time in the exam, you may get confused. But if you would have already solved these questions and if you come across these words, then you can happily answer the question. Like this, you find at least in 25 to 30 questions direct benefit of solving these previous questions. Previous questions, I don't mean simply the previous questions of civil service exam. Even the previous questions asked in various exams conducted by UPSC, CDS, NDA, CAPF, CISF, all these things, engineering services, I'm talking about those. But I understand segregating all the previous questions topic by topic, then answering them, you need to know the answers. Even if you know the answers, there are some books which give you answers, but the right explanation, then analysis and all. So that is a time-taking process. I completely understand. It will take at least 6 to 9 months, doing all this. That's why I have prepared a beautiful course. My intention here is not to promote my courses. I never want to promote my courses and I never asked you to enroll in my courses. But this is such an important course. That's why I want to mention it here. I have collected last 40-year questions asked from 1979 till 2019. In fact, 2020. Questions asked in civil service exam. Similarly, questions asked in other exams for last 10 years. CDS, NDA, ESC, CAPF, CISF. Topic by topic I have segregated and I have answered all the questions with detailed explanation. That course, what is named as Beacon course. This is such a guiding light type of course. If you follow this course, maybe, scoring 40 to 50 more marks is possible. Those especially who are falling short in prelims by 5 to 10 marks, this kind of courses will greatly help you. If you want, you can go through that. I recommend you that, in fact. Now you see the question asked in Civil Services 2020. A constitutional government by definition is a government by legislature, that's why we call it parliamentary form of government. Popular government, you see, whichever is popular, that means whichever is majority, that will rule. So these are all aspects of parliamentary form of government. Multi-party government, bilkul wrong. D the answer. You can simply say like that. Hope you are understanding. There is no scope for going for wrong option. Take another question asked in 2020 itself. A parliamentary system of government is one in which all political parties in the parliament are represented in the government. कहाँ पे? हमारा तो parliamentary system है ना. सारे political parties government में क्यों होता है? Only majority party का council of ministers होता है. So ये is wrong. B देखिए, the government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. Correct? See, same question बार-बार कैसा पूछेगा? The government is responsible or council of ministers is responsible or the executive is responsible. To whom? To the parliament or Lok Sabha or legislature. Whatever way it gives. Government is responsible to the parliament. Government is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Government is responsible to the legislature. Council of Ministers is responsible to Parliament. Council of Ministers is responsible to Lok Sabha. Council of Ministers is responsible to Legislature. Executive is responsible to Parliament. Executive is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Executive is responsible to the Legislature. कैसा भी दिया होगा तो सही है. That is what is parliamentary system of government. So you have B the answer. I am not even reading the other statements because my intention is not to teach you the subject here. Hope you understand what I am trying to tell you. Let me show you some more questions now. Take this question asked in Civil Services 1979. In a parliamentary system, the executive is responsible directly to the people, to legislature, to judiciary, none of the above. It is responsible to legislature or parliament or Lok Sabha, whatever is given, we choose that. Here legislature is given. B the answer. Hope you are understanding. I am going little fast because you know already what is the meaning of parliamentary system. Take one more question asked in 1985. In a parliamentary system of government, the parliament is responsible to the executive. The parliament is responsible to the judiciary. Parliament is not responsible. The executive is responsible to the parliament. So C the answer. Hope you understand. Take one more question asked in Civil Services 1987. India has parliamentary democracy system because members of the Lok Sabha are elected by the public. Council of Ministers is responsible to the legislature. Same meaning. Council of Ministers is nothing but executive. Of distribution of power between the center and the states. Of a single constitutional framework. See, other things तो बकवास है. मैं explain नहीं कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि I don't want to insult you by going, by explaining even such silly things. You already know. So same question, same answers. B the answer. How many times it was asked? Please see it. Take this question asked in 2015. Even I am not showing many other questions asked. 2030 में भी पूछा था. I am not showing all those. There is a parliamentary system of government in India because the Lok Sabha is elected directly by the people. Parliament can amend the constitution. Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. So D is the answer. Same question, same question, same question. Again, if you would have solved all these questions, answering this 2020 question is kitna aasan hai. When 25 to 30 questions are directly being copied like this from various modules each year, and still, 50% is the cutoff, and where is the difficulty? I mean, how can you say that this year paper is difficult? Means you have never solved, so you have not solved all these previous questions. We have never made your basics clear. We have never structured, even you do not know what is the syllabus of UPSC till date after preparing for 2-3 years. You just prepare vague and you just want to clear the exam. How it is possible? People say, sir, I am very serious to crack UPSC. I am ready to do anything. बोलने से कुछ नहीं होता है. You have to, show it in your actions. You need to work on these things. Take another question asked in 2017. The main advantage of the parliamentary form of government is that, again the same question, the executive and legislature work independently. It provides continuity of public and is more efficient. The executive remains responsible to the legislature. Hope you understand. The head of the government cannot be changed without election. I am not explaining the wrong options, why they are wrong. ये कभी और देखेंगे because मैं कोई topic नहीं पढ़ा रहा हूँ यहाँ. So same question again. See the answer. Take one more question asked in Civil Services 2020. अब तक हमने ऐसा क्वेश्चन देखा जो एज इट इज कॉपी पेस्टेड है. नाउ ऐसा भी देखेंगे लिटिल मॉडिफिकेशन के साथ कैसा आता है. टेक दिस क्वेश्चन. विथ रेफरेंस टू द हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडिया, वुलगुलन और द ग्रेट ट्यूमल्ट इज द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इवेंट्स. वेरी सिंपल एंड बहुत बार एक क्वेश्चन आ चुका है, कम से कम 8 से 10 बार इन वेरियस एग्जाम्स लाइक एस्पेशली CAPF ऐसे एग्जाम्स में बार बार पूछता है. So Birsa Munda, from Ranchi area. So Birsa Munda revolt को हम बोलेंगे उलगुलन, बीरसाइट उलगुलन. Hope you understand. मैं एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर रहा हूं. ये ट्राइबल अपराइजिंग्स में हम पढ़ेंगे सारे. D the answer. Now look at this question asked in CISF 2012. Match list 1 and list 2 and select the correct answer using code given below the list. List 1 में pigeon struggles are given. List 2 में place is given. Mappila uprising or Mopla revolt. It is in Kerala, Malabar region. We have covered in pigeon movements. You know it very well. Fulaguri Dawa in Brahmaputra Valley because they are very prosperous. So nobody is going to work in tea plantations in Assam. So the planters have asked British to trouble them by increasing tax and all that. Assam. Santal Hul, Jharkhand or Chota Nagpur, you can say anything. Birside Ulgulan, you can say Jharkhand. Of course, Chota Nagpur also. But strictly speaking, Birside Ulgulan is around Ranchi, Birside Munda. Even his statue is being placed in Jharkhand. So we go Birside Ulgulan with Jharkhand, D will go with 2, and Santalhul in Chota Nagpur Plateau. Very basic question. बहुत बार इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस पूछ चुका है, and these are all important struggles. When you see the previous questions, you understand किस पे focus करना है. So not only directly it will be useful, it helps you when you prepare your basics where to focus. And if you learn those, they only repeat again and again. So spending good amount of time during your preparation on previous questions is very important. And unfortunately, many aspirants are completely ignoring such an important resource. Hope you understand what I am trying to tell you. So we talked about the second pillar, that is current events. In fact, current events are important, but the way to prepare current events is different. It won't take more than a week if you properly organize and prepare. But since you are depending on such resources, such scattered resources, that's why even spending most of your preparation time on this pillar, you are still, cannot build this pillar properly. So that's why you have to be careful while dealing with this. And the most important pillar out of all is previous questions. And many aspirants, they won't even spend a minute on this pillar. The most important pillar is completely ignored, and the most useless pillar, you are spending most of your preparation time on that. That's the problem. That's why even 80% of questions are very simple, which can be easily answered. Still the cutoff is only 50%. Not even 50% sometimes. You might ask, इतना आसान एग्जाम में क्यों इतना कम कट ऑफ रह रहा है? तब भी लोग बोल रहा है ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट एग्जाम है. Not because the exam is actually difficult, because of the lack of awareness. See, hunger in our country is not because of lack of food. We have surplus food. It is because of many other reasons like wastage and lack of proper distribution, etc. Poverty in our country is not because of lack of resources. We have surplus enough resources. The problem is because of deprivation. So many challenges in our society are not because of failure of policy making. Beautiful policies are there. We can easily see very prosperous India, but the problem is mindset of the people, their social customs and many other challenges which you understand better in Indian society module. The same way, this exam is not difficult because of the difficult questions. It is because of the mindset of the aspirants. It is because of the preparation practice of majority of the aspirants. If you can realize it before others do, you can easily crack this. Now we talk about the fourth pillar, that is the common sense. First, understand what is common sense. Common sense doesn't mean guessing the right answer. If you wisely decide not to answer a question, and if you can skip that question without wasting your time, it is also common sense. Nowadays, people are trying to standardize the process of common sense also. Like if you find the word only, ye galat hai. If you find any numerical value, mostly it is wrong. This is utter nonsense. You cannot say that. It's not because of any word or that. You need to use your common sense. You need to develop how to use that common sense. Not that you have to remember even how to use common sense. Suppose you are an investigating officer in a case. You got a lead that a particular celebrity or a political leader in that area is involved in the case. It doesn't mean that without thinking anything, you simply go and arrest him. Of course, you will not do that. In fact, you work in that direction as per your lead to make sure of it. In that process, if you find the lead is incorrect, you ignore it. This is the way you have to do. So, common sense should only help you in taking your thought process in a certain direction. It doesn't mean that numerical value diya to galat hai. Suppose I say, at present, the election commission has 3, commissioners. Galat thodi hai. I give you a statement, Asiatic line is found in Gujarat only. Correct hai as of now? Unless it is redistributed somewhere else, reintroduced in some other state. Hope you are understanding. It's not based on the words. You have to understand the meaning of the statement and use your common sense. So this is an ability which you have to enhance or develop. Not that you remember even when to use common sense and how to use common sense. इसको भी standardize करोगे तो it makes no sense. Now let us see some questions. This question was asked in Civil Services 2020. In the context of India, which of the following are considered to be practices of eco-friendly agriculture? You need to know very basics like eco-friendly agriculture. It is a positive term. नाम से ही पता लग रहा है. Otherwise, इतना तो आपको पता ही होगा. Sustainable agriculture or eco-friendly agriculture is encouraged. This is a positive thing. उसमें वेरियस प्रैक्टिसेस है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल टेरेस फार्मिंग, कॉन्टूर बंडिंग, स्ट्रिप क्रॉपिंग, एफॉरेस्ट्रेशन, कवर क्रॉपिंग, मल्चिंग, agroforestry, shelter belts, crop rotation or crop diversity, minimum tillage or no tillage, tensiometer use, vertical farming, legume intensification. These are all positive things. I'm not going deep in explaining what are those. At least you need to understand what are positives, what are negatives. For example, soil degradation, like soil erosion, soil desertification, soil salinization, soil acidification. These are all negative things. Hope you are understanding. So, which are considered to be practices of eco-friendly agriculture? All positive practices. Crop diversification. Yes, जितना diversification होगा उतना अच्छा है. Legume intensification, hope you are understanding. Mixed cropping or crop diversification or crop rotation. Though there are minor differences in all these things, strip cropping, whatever you call. But variety of crops instead of using the same crop that drains out the nutrients. So crop diversification is a good practice. It is a practice of eco-friendly agriculture. So one must be there. So B and C are wrong. Very basics, very basics. And you can easily understand such things. Legume intensification. Anyway, both A and D have second also, third also. No need to waste your time. Directly go to the fourth. Vertical farming. See, vertical farming minimize water usage. So, ऊपर वाला water नीचे आएगा का मतलब water usage को minimize होगा. Similarly, agricultural runoff can be eliminated. Even space can be saved. कम space में ज़्यादा crop produce कर सकते हो. So vertical farming is positive aspect, eco-friendly agriculture. So 4 must be there. So A is also wrong. Very simple question. At least see, I am not saying when we study sustainable agriculture, you understand all the things. But these are all very basic things. You must know at least. Now you see legume intensification. Legumes play a key role in nitrogen fixation. Rhizobium bacteria and all. So that's why beach mein legume, pulses and this kind of crops will be grown. Tensiometer use. These are used to monitor soil moisture. Instead of just use irrigation, maybe sometimes over irrigation से water loss भी हो सकता है, उससे नुकसान भी है कुछ. तो when you use tensiometer, it understands the soil moisture, कितना moisture roots को मिल रहा है. Accordingly, automatically irrigation system on होता है और off होता है. तो exactly जितना पानी चाहिए उस crop को, उतना ही पानी खर्च होगा. का मतलब this is why use of irrigation, tensiometer use. So all are positive practices. So the answer is D. At least you need to have you heard of these terms or not. This is all what is being tested. Nothing else. He is not asking you to explain what are they. Very silly and simple questions. Take another question. Again asked in Civil Services 2020. What are the advantages of zero tillage in agriculture? Zero tillage or no tillage or minimum tillage. If you don't till the land, obviously you can save soil erosion. It decreases the amount of soil erosion. And even the amount of water that infiltrates into the soil increases. So it's a good practice, zero tillage. Still why many people won't follow this, though it is good practice? Just because lack of awareness. And it requires a different skill than conventional farming. Lack of that skill is also a reason. अदरवाइज बिकॉज ऑफ दिस न्यूट्रिएंट साइक्लिंग में भी बहुत कम होगा, जो क्रॉप रेसिड्यू होगा उसी में जो न्यूट्रिएंट्स होता है कार्बन नाइट्रोजन वे दोबारा यूज होता है. So both, it is a positive practice again. So he is asking what are the advantages of this. Look at the statements. First one, sowing of wheat is possible without burning the residue of previous crop. Previous crop को burn करने का जरूरत ही नहीं है. Hope you understand. तो climate में भी फायदा है. So this is also a positive thing and a good thing. So not only positive, yes, it doesn't require, you can easily understand. Hope you are getting it. So one is there. So B is wrong, C is wrong. Now A, D दोनों में second है, तो even no need to read the second statement. Look at the third statement. Carbon sequestration in the soil is possible. अगर क्रॉप रेसिड्यू को बर्न करोगे तो उसमें जो भी कार्बन है that will go into atmosphere. If you have not done that, that carbon is sequestrated in the soil. Yes, carbon sequestration in the soil is possible. Hope you understand. So third must be there. So A is also wrong. Even if you do not know the second, you can answer the question. D is the answer. So you can attempt it. You look at the second statement. Without the need for nursery of rice saplings, direct planting of paddy seeds in the wet soil is possible. Really speaking, this is a difficult statement. Whether it is really possible or not without delay, you may get doubt. But it doesn't matter to you. Though a difficult statement is given, without using this statement, you can arrive at the answer. So you can attempt it. That is what is common sense. If you cannot do that, you have to take a call. Whether you should go for it or not. Hope you understand what I am trying to say. So common sense is not always answering. Sometimes leaving questions is also common sense. यहाँ छोड़ने की जरूरत नहीं. You can attempt it. Take one more question. Asked in Civil Services 2020. Consider the following activities. Spraying pesticides on a crop field. Inspecting the craters of active volcanoes. See, he just asked to consider the following activities. ये क्या पूछने वाला हमको बता नहीं. तो उस टाइम पे ये स्टेटमेंट्स पढ़ते हुए वी डोंट वेस्ट आवर टाइम. पहले हम क्वेश्चन देखेंगे क्या पूछ रहा है, तब पढ़ेंगे तो स्टेटमेंट्स डायरेक्टली. यू ऑलरेडी नो द क्वेश्चन, तो व्हेन यू रीड द स्टेटमेंट्स विदाउट वेस्टिंग टाइम यू कैन स्टार्ट थिंकिंग. सो मैं पहले 1 2 3 नहीं पढ़ूंगा, पहले उसके बारे में क्या पूछा जा रहा है ये पढ़ूंगा. At the present level of technology, which of the above activities can be successfully carried out by using drones? Drones use करके क्या क्या activities कर सकते हैं? Spraying pesticides on a crop field. ड्रोन को उड़ाओ और पेस्टिसाइड को स्प्रे करो, उसमें क्या दिक्कत है? अगर इस पे you do not know, for example, think that it cannot be done. क्या हो सकता है ऐसा स्टेटमेंट एग्जिस्ट होने के लिए? द स्प्रेइंग ऑफ पेस्टिसाइड्स इज नॉट पॉसिबल यूजिंग ए ड्रोन. होप यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. आई एम नॉट गोइंग इन डेप्थ बिकॉज बहुत जगह पे हम ऐसा चीजों की बात कर चुके हैं. सो फर्स्ट मस्ट बी देयर, फर्स्ट इज करेक्ट. सो ऑप्शन बी इज रॉन्ग. सेकंड देखिए, इंस्पेक्टिंग द क्रेटर्स ऑफ एक्टिव वोल्केनोस. वोल्केनो के ऊपर भेज दो ड्रोन को, वे कैमरा शूट करके आएगा, तो उस क्रेटर को इंस्पेक्ट करो. तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है इसमें? तो सेकंड इज देयर, सो यू कैन एलिमिनेट ऑप्शन सी आल्सो. थर्ड देखिए, कलेक्टिंग ब्रीथ सैंपल्स ऑफ स्पाउटिंग व्हेल्स फॉर डीएनए एनालिसिस. इफ यू नो व्हाट इट मींस, जनरली व्हेल्स ब्रीथ not often, like we need to breathe very frequently. They can hold their breath up to 2 hours. So they go into the water, then maybe after 1.5 hours, 2 hours, they come up and they take one long breath. At that time, they release some water droplets into air. So उस टाइम पे ड्रोन को भेज दो, वे उसका ब्रेथ सैंपल्स को कैच करेगा, लेके आएगा. देन यू कैन यूज देम फॉर डीएनए एनालिसिस. आप हवा में उड़ के तो नहीं लेके आ सकते ना, बट ड्रोन कैन ब्रिंग इट. व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम इन इट? Even if you do not know that, suppose you see, अगर ये स्टेटमेंट गलत, सपोज ये समझ में नहीं आया, आप इतना कॉमन सेंस यूज करेंगे. कॉमन सेंस डजंट मीन दैट वी ऑलवेज आंसर. वी ट्राई टू आंसर. अगर हमको मौका नहीं मिलेगा तो वी स्किप द क्वेश्चन. नाउ यू सी, कलेक्टिंग ब्रेथ सैंपल्स फ्रॉम स्पाउटिंग व्हेल्स फॉर डीएनए एनालिसिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल, लेट अस से यूजिंग ड्रोन्स. अगर इफ इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल, ये आइडिया कैसा आएगा इनको, पेपर सेटर को, मैं वेल्स के बारे में लिखूंगा? ऐसा कहीं लिखा होता है क्या दैट you cannot collect whale spouting, I mean, breath samples using drone? ऐसा स्टेटमेंट तो कहीं लिखेगा नहीं. If it is not possible, why somebody write it? If it is not written nowhere, if it is nowhere written, why he will make the question? Either he must have seen that somewhere, recently using drone, breath samples of स्पाउटिंग वेल्स वर कलेक्टेड, ऐसा कहीं लिखा तो देख के दिया होगा. अगर कलेक्ट नहीं हुआ तो कलेक्ट नहीं किया, ये तो कहीं लिखेगा नहीं. आई डोंट नो वेदर हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, बिकॉज ऐसा चीज हम कहीं और वीडियो में भी बात कर चुका हूं. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम नॉट डिविएटिंग फ्रॉम प्रेजेंट वीडियो का जो थीम है उससे. दैट्स व्हाई. सो इट इज करेक्ट. होप यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग द आंसर. So we are talking about the 4 pillars of IAS preparation. We talked about the second pillar, that is the current events. We talked about the third pillar, the most important pillar, the previous questions. And we talked about the fourth pillar, that is the common sense. Now we talk about the first pillar, that is the basics. Again, very, very important pillar. So third pillar and the first pillar are extremely important. Now let me tell you how to build these 4 pillars, in what order you have to proceed. Suppose if you just start your preparation, first thing is you need to understand the syllabus. You divide them into certain number of modules, each module into some parts, subparts like this, or you call section, subsection, whatever you name it. Finally, you break down that module into small concepts. For each concept, you just need to know the basics. Very basics. You need not go deep into the subject. UPSC requires, it checks your basic knowledge. It won't trouble you. But you won't believe in this. You feel that UPSC can ask anything. It is very unpredictable. But it is wrong. You believe me, all the questions that you get are based on basics only. But actually it is not true. In fact, I am lying. Only 20 questions or 25 questions are simple out of 100. They are directly asked from basics. In fact, 75 questions you won't recognize that they are asked on basics. Not because they are really difficult or they require some other knowledge to answer. No, you do not require any other extra knowledge to answer these questions. These are also based on basics. But since they were not asked, certain other parameters are mixed with this basics. That's why they look difficult. We will talk what parameters will be added, how a simple question can be made difficult. These things we discuss in the next commandment. But believe me, these questions also require basic idea. But since they are used in a different way, these questions look difficult to you. For example, you see the primary colors, green, blue, red. These are the primary colors, and by mixing these colors in different proportions, you can make or you can create a gamut of colors. Just like that, very basics, usko mix karke different proportions में, difficult or easy or medium questions and tricky questions can be made. How they can be done, we will see in the next commandment. But believe me, all questions require very, very basic idea of the concepts. So understand the basics of the concept, then solve all the previous questions asked on that concept. Then you also realize that no question is difficult, because all these questions, though they are looking difficult, when you solve, you realize that there is some trap. Because of the trap or because of the tricky language, they are looking difficult. Otherwise, they also require very broad idea of the concept. While solving the previous questions, you automatically can develop your common sense. Common sense means I am talking with respect to the exam. And you also recognize current events does not play major role. Right now, you won't accept to this. It looks like, everyone is saying current events play a major role in the preparation. But when you solve all previous questions after understanding the basics, you understand that, current events actually play a very minor role in the, in UPSC preparation. Hope you understand. And you also can recognize certain topics which are most important. For example, you see, certain topics are there like around 10 topics. If you see those topics, each topic say last 10 years में approximately 15 questions आए हैं. That means on average you find 1.5 question every year from these 10, I mean from each of these 10 topics. So if you can prepare these 10 topics, for example, monetary policy, you see last 10-year papers, you find minimum 15 questions from that. Even no need to learn the entire monetary policy, just the quantitative tools of monetary policy. You find minimum 15 questions in last 10 years. Similarly, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSP. You find minimum, 15 questions in 10-year papers. Biodiversity, minimum 15 questions, even 20-25 questions also. I mean, 15 is the minimum I am talking. 15 questions in 10 years. Drainage system, 15 questions last 10 years. Renewable energy, solar, wind, hydrogen energy, fuel cells, geothermal energy, biofuels. If you just, very broad idea, don't need to go, deep into them. Just what is what? You can find 15 questions in 10 years. So understand these 10 topics. Automatically you realize when you solve all these previous questions. So 1.5 question on average. So these 10 topics give you 15 questions. Similarly, there are 10 such topics. You can expect one question on average. So if you see last 10-year papers, each topic says 10 questions कम से कम आपको मिलेगा. So by knowing those 10 topics, you can get 10 questions. And 10 ऐसा भी topics होगा, on average you can get half question. That means maybe alternate years में question आता है उससे. So by knowing those 10 concepts, you can get 5 questions. So just by learning these 30 concepts, 30 simple concepts, you can get 30 questions. Like this, such important topics also you identify. So that way you build your basics, then solve previous questions for confidence as well as, better understanding of the exam. Then automatically common sense भी बढ़ेगा and you also realize, current events का role कितना है. Hope you are understanding. Now let us see some questions. Take this question asked in Civil Services 2020. With reference to the provisions contained in Part 4 of the Constitution of India, Part 4 means Directive Principles of State Policy. Which of the following statements are correct? First statement, they shall be enforceable by courts. See, fundamental rights are enforceable by courts, but not DPSP. Hope you know this very, very simple thing, such a basic thing. Believe me, 80% of questions, at least, even more than 80% of questions are based on very, very simple basics. You do not require to know complex things. But not that all questions will be asked directly. Some questions will be twisted in such a way that you will not be able to recognize it during the exam. Maybe एग्जाम के बाद बाहर आने के बाद दोबारा देखेंगे तो कुछ क्वेश्चंस और सिंपल लगते हैं. So all these, we will discuss in detail in the next commandment. So first statement is wrong because DPSP are not enforceable by courts. If you know that, you can eliminate option A and option C. Second देखिए, वैसा तो second दोनों में है B and D में. Otherwise you see they shall not be enforceable by any court. Yes, DPSP they are not enforceable by any court. So second is correct. Third देखिए, the principles laid down in this part are to influence the making of laws by the state. In fact, that is the meaning of DPSP. Directive Principles of State Policy. State को policy बनाने वक्त direct करने वाला principles, directive principles of state policy. He is also saying the same. The principles laid down in this part are to influence the making of laws by the state. Very, very simple question if you understand. Hope you got it. 2 and 3. D is the answer. Take this question asked in Civil Services 2020. If the RBI decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, what is the monetary policy? Bank, RBI. RBI के पास ज्यादा पैसा होगा, बैंक के पास कम होगा. That is called contractionary monetary policy or tight money policy. अगर RBI थोड़ा लूज करेगा बैंक के पास, और बैंक मीन्स इकोनॉमी में, बैंक एंड पीपल आर कनेक्टेड. सो वहां ज्यादा पैसा भेजेगा तो how it can be done? By decreasing CRR or SLR or whatever it is, by decreasing bank rate, So by using the quantitative tools of monetary policy, then it is called expansionist monetary policy. That means if RBI decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, it has to decrease CRR so that bank has more money with itself, or it has to decrease SLR, or it has to decrease bank rate, or it has to decrease repo rate, और ओपन मार्केट ऑपरेशंस में सिक्योरिटीज को क्या करना चाहिए, खरीदना चाहिए. अगर सिक्योरिटीज लोगों से डायरेक्टली पीपल से खरीदेगा तो वापसी में लोगों के पास पैसा जाएगा. देन इकोनॉमी में सर्कुलेशन ऑफ मनी इंक्रीजेस. दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल एक्सपेंशनिस्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी. But be careful, the question is, which of the following would it not do? You know, sometimes that is what I am saying. Easy questions को different ट्रिक्स यूज करके डिफिकल्ट बनाने का कोशिश करेगा. लेकिन डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन का मतलब ये नहीं है वे कहीं प्लैनेट का दूसरा कंसेप्ट लेके आएगा. नो, यही सिंपल कंसेप्ट यूज करेगा. हम इतना क्वेश्चंस में देखते आ रहा है. आईएए का क्वेश्चन देखे, ही जस्ट आस्क्ड व्हाट इज आईएए. इफ यू नो व्हाट इज इट्स रोल, इफ यू नो, you can answer that question. It is not difficult. No question is difficult. It requires only basic idea. All questions. So any of these is done, then expansionary monetary policy follow होगा. But he is asking which of the following would it not do? First देखिए, cut and optimize the statutory liquidity ratio. अगर cut करेगा तो expansionary monetary policy implement होगा. But he is asking would it not do? So it cannot be. One cannot be. Even if you know that, you can eliminate A, C, D. Hope you are understanding. पैसा भी देखे. सेकंड देखे, इंक्रीज द मार्जिनल स्टैंडिंग फैसिलिटी रेट. या मैं ये लिखा है, इवन एमएसएफ को भी डिक्रीज करेगा तो एक्सपेंशनिस्ट होगा. बट वे बोल रहे हैं कि इंक्रीज करना. इंक्रीज होगा तो एक्सपेंशनिस्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी नहीं इंप्लीमेंट होगा. दैट मीन्स वे नहीं करना चाहिए. दैट इज व्हाट ही इज आस्किंग. सो सेकंड इज देयर. कट द बैंक रेट एंड रेपो रेट. बैंक रेट एंड रेपो रेट कट करेगा तो भी एक्सपेंशनिस्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इंप्लीमेंट होगा. बट ही इज आस्किंग विच इट वुड इट नॉट डू. सो थर्ड रॉन्ग. Hope you are understanding. B the answer. Take one more question asked in 2020. If you withdraw 1 lakh in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy will be. This is what I am saying. What is the concept? You know, people, they save their money in the banks, and this is our economy, and the RBI wants to control that economy. How? By taking some money. अगर पैसा आरबीआई के पास जाएगा तो इकोनॉमी में कम होगा सर्कुलेशन. दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल टाइट. पैसा आरबीआई से, ये टाइट है, पैसा आरबीआई से इकोनॉमी में आता है, देन सर्कुलेशन इन द इकोनॉमी इंक्रीजेस. दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल लूज. लूज मीन्स expansionary, tight means contractionary. This is all what you know. Now the question is, if you withdraw 1 lakh rupees in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, suppose you are depositing your money from the bank, you know, just to confuse you, demand deposit account और सेविंग्स अकाउंट क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? कोई भी अकाउंट, बैंक से आप अपना पैसा निकाल रहे हो. द इमीडिएट इफेक्ट ऑन एग्रीगेट मनी सप्लाई इन द इकोनॉमी विल बी. सी, आरबीआई का रोल ही नहीं है इकोनॉमी में पैसा, चाहे बैंक के पास हो या आपके पास हो, ये तो इकोनॉमी में ही है ना. सी, इफ इट इज विद द बैंक, बैंक भी क्या करेगा, किसी और को लोन में देगा, या आप विथड्रॉ करेगा तो आपके पास होगा. अल्टीमेटली इट इज इन इकोनॉमी ओनली, सो देयर इज नो चेंज. अगर पैसा किसी तरीके से आरबीआई के पास जाता है, देन इकोनॉमी में ये डिक्रीज होता है. किसी तरीके से आरबीआई से पैसा आता है, देन इकोनॉमी में सर्कुलेशन ऑफ मनी इंक्रीज होता है. यहां तो आरबीआई के पास जा ही नहीं रहा है, आप अपना बैंक अकाउंट से पैसा निकाला, तो इट टू लीव इट अनचेंज. दैट इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. अगेन द वेरी बेसिक कंसेप्ट, बट दिस क्वेश्चन इन द फर्स्ट इंस्टेंट व्हेन यू लुक एट इट, that too out of exam pressure and you know time bound, that's why it looks difficult. It looks something which you do not know. Maybe it requires some other knowledge, but it doesn't require any knowledge. It's like understanding ability. That's what we'll talk about, all these things, you know, how to develop these abilities. We'll talk in the next commandment. So overall, hope you understand this commandment. This is all about this. Hope you have understood and enjoyed. Thank you for watching this.